Well, thank you so much. And allow me to just start with a very short notice, with a note of introduction. Welcome, Eddie. Welcome, everyone. It's such a pleasure to speak to you. And just a few words of welcome. So Music in Africa is more than just an online platform with simply information. It is more importantly a networking opportunity. It provides networking and continued education opportunities for musicians. Because music plays such an important role in Africa, it connects people, it creates identity, and it shapes the continent's attitude towards life. On the platform, any musician can create a profile that enables direct contact with fans, with concert promoters, and other stakeholders from the music scene. And this leads to new collaborations and contracts. The Music in Africa Live project supports musicians and the music industry to overcome the challenges and new realities that have been created by COVID-19. Covering all African continents, the goal of Music in Africa Live is to provide financial and structural support to players so they can create high-quality works and promote and present them to wider global audience through digital means. Adi, you are the Executive Director of the Music in Africa Foundation, and you have headed Music in Africa since its inception in 2011. You have been more than 10 years actively involved in the arts and culture sector in Africa, contributing immensely to the establishment of key structures on the continent. And you are also an active music producer, and I can imagine you have experienced firsthand how hard the COVID-19 pandemic hit all musicians. So Eddie, this leads me to my first question to you today. So what was actually the incentive for this project, and how long did it take Music in Africa from the very first idea to the realization of the project? Could you fill us in on that, please?
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, I remember around March last year, here in South Africa and with a lot of our colleagues across the continent, we heard about the COVID, pandemic. And I think for a moment, a lot of us here on the continent, we were like, okay, this is the new thing that's happening globally. A lot of us didn't really imagine that it would come to us in that way. And I think we were very disappointed to know a few weeks later that Africa was going completely on lockdown, and things changed quite drastically for a lot of us here on the continent. And I mean, we are talking about Africa, a continent that has traditionally also had its own issues with regards to opportunities for artists, and the challenges that we have around financing the arts. So for us, as an organization, it was quite a new thing to suddenly, be in this position now where we have to work from home and completely see, a change in terms of the artists, how they work, events disappearing, cancellations left, right, and center. And so the first thing that we had to do at that point was to commission within our structures a comprehensive research. And this was really to just get a sense of how terrible the impact of the pandemic was, even in those early days. So over a month, we collected data from across Africa, and the results were collated. And what was more disappointing was just how serious the impact was, with artists already reporting that they had lost like a lot of money, a lot of opportunities. The missions of the foundation, as you rightly said, is to support African musicians. And live music is a big source of income for a lot of our professionals here on the continent. And so we started imagining how we could intervene. And over a 3 months period, we started conceptualizing the Music in Africa Live initiative, with a view to spark some kind of, activity in the live space, imagining the new reality that digital takes now, a lot of, preference for a lot of artists. And also, as we've seen across the continent, immediately when artists saw that live performances in the typical setting was no longer possible, a lot of them started to reinvent and to repackage, refashion their performances, and essentially bringing them to online audiences. But what was very clear to a lot of us is just how I think a lot of them struggled to really create marketable events. And this stems from what we believe as the foundation is one of the critical issues we have on the continent in general. It's just the lack of resources, lack of critical skills when it comes to, just understanding, and taking advantage of online platforms in producing things, packaging them, and obviously marketing them. So we wanted with Music in Africa a program that would not only offer financial assistance, structural assistance, but also capacity building to assist these artists to understand and to improve their works so that they can be accessible and marketable to a wider global audience. So these are all the things that we considered, and I think we managed to create quite a scalable program that was focusing on the whole continent. And over a 3-month period, we were very fortunate and we're very thankful to the Siemens Stiftung and the German Federal Foreign Office for understanding this, and also I must say really also questioning some of the logics that we had in the ideas we had. So the partnership also came together and also provided some important aspects that we ended up also just integrating into a program that we believe has been very helpful for a lot of African musicians. So over 5 months, this was the biggest challenge that we had to implement the first iteration of the program over a 5-month period. And that was, obviously a big challenge for us, but also I think quite a good challenge because a lot of the musicians needed immediate attention, and so that meant that we had to develop also strategies to make sure that we are able to pay people in Sudan, not only being able to pay them, being able to assist them in applying for the financial assistance. One of the biggest challenge, obviously, we have on the continent is general, payment systems, and also just the general, selection and running of these very complicated grants and systems sometimes becomes a challenge. But I think we were very, very, I think, successful in implementing this program. So over a 5-month period, just nearly close to 100 videos were produced, featuring performances and what we call capacity building videos. These are like really cool educational videos talking about everything that you can imagine about what is important for to know as an African music professional, especially within the pandemic and the digital space that we're in now. So issues around copyrights for digital licensing, royalties, management, promotion, etc., etc. So these guys were happy to partner with us and to produce a wide range of content that speaks to the very, I think, important topics that not only focus on the COVID pandemic, but also the general, environment across the different markets on the continent. About 500,000 people watched the showcases, the videos that were shown on our social media pages, on our website, and our partner pages. And for us, this was a huge plus, because normally artists are also struggling to get the audience, the critical audience. And so for us, that was quite a also an interesting, I think, learning phase to understand how let's say audiences within the continent are responding also to this content. And our general assessment is that there is a lot of appetite for live music, and that if it is packaged well, and if it speaks to the audiences, then people are going to respond to it. People are going to share it, and we've already seen how from those videos, a lot of partners are approaching us to say, we would like to book this artist. How can we get in touch with them? And for us, this is what is important, to create these opportunities for musicians, not only to showcase their music, but also to get work. This is what is very important at this time when the pandemic has made it almost impossible for people to earn money from the typical live settings.
Yeah. Eddie, thank you very much for that. And this follows up with another question that I would have. So how do you actually identify the artist and also the partner network that you're working with, such as studios, producers? How does this selection process actually work? Could you explain that a little bit?
Yes, very interesting. And actually one of the biggest, I think, point of emphasis for the Music in Africa Foundation. For us, transparency and fairness is really important, especially when there's kind of projects where you have people from all over Africa wanting to benefit from this, and the resources obviously are going to be limited at some point. So you want to make sure that you have the right structures that are selecting, and also that there are very clear reference points that, of course, it's a process that people can understand the rationale for certain decisions, etc., etc. So what was very important for us was to select a jury. And so we selected a jury of 6 members coming from different markets and representing different also, I think, skills and knowledge areas. And there was a very clear also application process. And we continue to try to help artists to understand before they even apply. And this was done in 2 languages, English and French. So I think the basis for us is, if there is a fiduciary structure or a separate structure, selecting the talent, and they've got the very, very straight and very clear terms of reference, then the selection can be done. But I would say it took a lot of listening to great content from all over the continent, because all these applications had to be accompanied by, what the producers would have done before. So a lot of music. I must say that in these processes, we learn a lot. And for the foundation, this is actually one big source of ideas. When you listen to 500 applications, each carrying about 5 videos, 20 music attachments, songs, pictures, whatever, you really get to understand, just how talented we are on the continent, yet also how under-resourced we are. So we are always, creating ideas from these processes, and I think this is why, Music in Africa Live, we're happy that it's not ending there. This year we are also going to be working on the second edition of the program, and there's so much we've learned just from the selection process, and these things have been put together to improve what we have now on offer.
I mean, this is really an amazing example how, music, working with musicians, working across the sector over the entire continent really works. Do you see this as a future model in the music industry? I mean, you were talking about, learning from all these different experience now in the initial stage of the project, but do you think this is also something of a model that could be adapted in different contexts in the music sector?
Oh yes, no doubt. Look, with the pandemic and just how certain things have just been pushed into almost fast-tracked into a different space. We see obviously digital taking a much bigger role. It has always been streaming and technology. We know the impact of that on the industry. But I think on the continent, largely, even for us as the Music in Africa Foundation, it's something that we've always known how important it is, but we didn't think that we would need it so soon, and that jump was facilitated by the pandemic. So what Music in Africa Live does for us as an organization, and we believe for our stakeholders, is it propels us into this new world where this word hybrid will soon disappear. I think it won't be hybrid anymore. It will be the standard. This will be like, because a lot of us were thinking like, yeah, we do our events offline and then we can have a few aspects online and that kind of thing. But for us now, it's almost like digital first and the other then follows. And for Africa, when you look at how our music is consumed, we were lagging there. And we think Music in Africa Live is really propelling musicians to really think about digital first, because that's where the audiences are. So by giving them funds and giving them the education, the knowledge, and creating the platforms, the partnerships, we are actually enabling musicians to be prepared, to be knowledgeable, and we are seeing really exciting content coming from Africa. There's one very exciting example, and I've seen this in Europe many times. I've been invited to different events and activities, and I've just been amazed to see venues that made for digital performances. And I was like, we need something like this in Africa. Like, how difficult can it be to have an automated venue where you perform and your performance is going directly to the audience, and still there are people watching you in the venue, but you can imagine how powerful that is for artists. Now in Johannesburg, one of our partners has built just during this pandemic, and we continue to support them and they support us as well. They've built this amazing space where musicians are going there week in, week out to perform to a global audience. We've seen artists now playing American shows, featuring in American, top American programs, and they are doing this right here in Johannesburg. And this is what we need to facilitate these bridges that bring our talent not only to our audience here in Africa, but beyond Africa, and to facilitate this bigger, let's say, exchange and awareness of the music that we have on the continent. So Music in Africa, yes, is continuing this year, and we have made it bigger. We are hoping that we can also incorporate new ideas, and we remain very open as well. So please feel free to get in touch with us and to read a little bit more about what we are doing with this program. And there is more information on our website, musicinafrica.net/MIAL.
Eddie, thank you very much for this conversation. This has been very fascinating, as always. We are very much looking forward to hearing all the exciting new news and programs that are coming from the Music in Africa Foundation. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for this conversation. All the best.
Wonderful. Thank you, Nina.